Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into the Nikon D750. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to turn you from a beginner into a confident user ready to unlock this camera's full potential. We'll cover everything from the basic buttons to advanced techniques that will seriously level up your photos. No fluff, just pure, practical knowledge. So grab your D750 and let's get started right now. First up, let's get familiar with the camera body. On the top left, you have the mode dial. For maximum control, we'll mostly be using manual aperture priority and shutter priority. Right below it is the release mode dial, where you can select single shot, continuous low, or continuous high for burst shooting. On the other side, you'll find your top LCD screen, which shows all your key settings at a glance. Next to it is the shutter button, surrounded by the power switch. Flick it one more notch to light up the top screen. You've also got buttons for video recording, exposure compensation, and metering right here. On the back, the big star is the articulating screen, perfect for shooting at tricky angles. You have your multi-selector D-pad for navigating menus and selecting focus points, and the live view button to switch between the viewfinder and the screen. The I button is your shortcut to a quick menu for changing common settings without diving into the main menu system. Spend some time just holding the camera and feeling where these buttons are. Muscle memory is key. Now, let's talk about the heart of photography, the exposure triangle. This is the balance between aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. First, aperture. This is the opening in your lens controlled by the front command dial in manual or aperture priority mode. A low number, like f1.8, means a wide opening, letting in lots of light and creating that beautiful blurry background, or bokeh. A high number, like f11, means a small opening, letting in less light, but keeping more of your scene in sharp focus. Think of it as the pupil of the camera's eye. Next is shutter speed, controlled by the rear command dial. This is how long the camera's sensor is exposed to light. A fast shutter speed, like 1/4000th of a second, freezes fast action. A slow shutter speed, like 1 second, will create motion blur, great for light trails or silky smooth waterfalls, but you'll need a tripod. Finally, ISO, this is your camera's sensitivity to light. A low ISO like 100 is best for bright, sunny days, giving you the cleanest image. As it gets darker, you'll need to increase your ISO to something like 1600 or 3200. Be careful though, a very high ISO can introduce digital noise or grain into your photos. Mastering the interplay between these three settings is the single most important skill in photography. With exposure sorted, let's nail your focus. The D750 has a fantastic autofocus system. On the front of the camera, near the lens mount, you'll find the focus mode switch. You can set it to AF for autofocus or M for manual focus. While in AF, press the button in the center of that switch and use the rear command dial to choose your focus mode. You'll see AFS and AFC. AFS stands for single servo autofocus. When you half-press the shutter, the camera locks focus on your subject. This is perfect for static subjects like portraits or landscapes. AFC, or continuous servo autofocus, is for moving subjects. The camera will continuously track and adjust focus on your subject as long as you hold the shutter button halfway down. This is your go-to mode for sports, wildlife, or kids running around. Now, use the front command dial while holding that same button to select your AF area mode. Single point AF gives you precise control, letting you choose one single focus point. Dynamic area AF uses a primary point, but will use surrounding points to help if your subject moves slightly. 3D tracking is amazing. You pick your subject, and the camera will follow it across the frame. And auto area AF lets the camera decide what to focus on, which can be useful, but gives you less creative control. Practice switching between these modes to see which works best for different situations. Ready to level up? Let's dive into some advanced techniques. First, metering modes. Your D750 has a button for this on top. Matrix metering, the default, reads the entire scene and tries to find a balanced exposure. This works well most of the time. Center-rated metering gives more importance to the center of your frame. Spot metering is the most precise. It measures the light from a tiny area right around your active focus point. This is fantastic for tricky lighting situations like backlighting, where you need to expose your subject perfectly without worrying about the bright background. Next, learn to read your histogram. You can see it in live view or when reviewing an image. This graph shows the tonal range of your photo. The left side represents the darkest parts, the shadows. The right side represents the brightest parts, the highlights, and the middle is your midtones. If the graph is pushed all the way to the left, your image is underexposed. If it's pushed all the way to the right, it's overexposed. A good exposure usually has a nice, even spread across the graph, like a gentle hill. Finally, let's talk about shooting in RAW versus JPEG. JPEGs are smaller files, processed in camera and ready to share. Our AW files are uncompressed, capturing all the data from the sensor. This gives you way more flexibility when you edit your photos later. You can recover seemingly lost details in the shadows and highlights and have complete control over white balance and color. To get the absolute best quality from your D750, I strongly recommend shooting in RAW. You can even shoot RAW plus JPEGs so you have a quick file to share and a high-quality file to edit. Another quick tip, use the user settings modes, U1 and U2 on the mode dial. You can save your favorite settings here. For example, you could set U1 for action with a high shutter speed and AFC, and U2 for portraits with a wide aperture and single-point AF. It's a huge time saver. Whew, we covered a lot in a short time. We went through the camera body, mastered the exposure triangle, understood focus modes, and even touched on advanced techniques like metering, histograms, and shooting in RAW. But here's the most important part. None of this means anything if you do and put it into practice. The absolute best way to learn is to go out and shoot. Don't be afraid to experiment, make mistakes, and try all the settings we talked about today. Take 1,000 photos, see what works and what doesn't. Your D750 is an incredibly capable tool, and now you have the knowledge to start using it like a pro. Thank you so much for watching. If this tutorial helped you, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more photography content. Now go create something amazing.